So I know I'm a little late to this one because this game has already been out for a month. But if you have been living under a rock, Nintendo released a remake, a long-awaited remake, or I guess remaster kind of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door that is actually pretty good. I'll be real, I played it, or part of it anyway. I actually never did play the original. I missed out on it. I didn't have a GameCube when I was a kid. I did watch the full Game Grumps playthrough of it back in the day when that was like still going on. One of my favorite series of theirs. Side note. So I have like been exposed to it. I just missed it when it was around. But now the remake is out, and I've had a little bit of fun with it. I really have. It's surprising because I actually don't really have strong feelings on the Mario RPG games that much. Like I've not really been a big Mario and Luigi fan. I've not really been a big Paper Mario fan. I still to this day have not played Super Mario RPG, but it's just like it's not like totally my thing. But I've actually been enjoying it. I've actually been having a pretty good time with it. The reason why we're talking about it, the reason why it became like relevant, because I mean, Nintendo releasing a remake of a game that's 20 years old, that's never been done before. The reason why we're talking about this is this. I found this Kotaku article. What's this? What? Yeah, so if you don't know who the character is, this is Vivian. I'm not going to spoil things for myself because I actually haven't gotten to this point in the game yet, but this is Vivian. And we'll read off this line here from this character. Truth is, it took me a while to realize I was their sister, not their brother. Now their usual bullying feels heavier. So in the original version of this game, it was actually a little bit ambiguous over the like identity of the character, because Vivian was actually often referred to with male pronouns, like derogatorily, and the game was kind of like back and forth as to whether or not they were like treating Vivian as like a cross-dresser or if they were treating her as like trans. But now they just went all in and we're just like, no, Vivian is one of us. She's our little T-girl, ghosty girl, and I love her. And we're talking about it because people got mad, obviously. It's Twitter. People got real mad. And it's very funny how mad people got. Yeah, Annie, the original Japanese version of the game was like playing a little fast and loose with whether or not she was trans, but the American version like censored it entirely. But now Vivian is definitely trans. And so why am I talking about it? Because as much as I want to just dunk on conservatives being like butthurt over this, the actual reason that I wanted to bring this up was mostly because I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation about representation and just why I think that it's important. I actually think that Vivian being trans is a pretty like important thing for the trans community, for the reason that like representation is a huge step forward. People don't realize, I think, a lot of the time how important it actually is. I think that like we all kind of intuitively know, but I don't think we often like consciously think about it. And for me, I think there is a really big deal. Like it is really big deal that Vivian is trans. And the reason for that is like, for one, it's always good to have more queer characters. Especially because like showing queer characters in a very very range of like roles is what amounts to good representation. But also, this is fucking Mario. Like having a trans character in a like, maybe it's not like a mainline Mario game, but it's like a major Mario game, like a major release, a fucking like AAA title on the Nintendo Switch, fucking Mario, and there's a trans character, like that's super important. The reason why representation matters is having exposure to things is what allows people to develop tolerance for certain things. It's a lot harder to be scared of something that you know a little bit about. It's a lot harder to like see something as being like bad if it's normal. And the fact of the matter is like the queer community getting more normalization by having more representation in media is doing good. Now, it's not everything. Like, obviously, we are still dealing with a lot of like shitty laws. We're still dealing with a lot of like fights that we have to go through. But this is a pretty big win for us. And I know we all hate rainbow capitalism, but the unfortunate reality about rainbow capitalism is the fact that it exists is a net benefit to the queer community, because queer people being seen as like profitable enough to exploit means that we're winning the culture war a little bit. It also means that like we are being more accepted. It's more acceptable to place us in something like fucking Mario. And I think that's really neat. I just think it's like really cool. And I think that this is a really important thing for the trans community. And I apologize that I don't have like a lot of really in-depth commentary to go into, because like a lot of this has already been said before, but I just wanted to highlight it because it was, I thought really, really fucking cool. In spite of the fact that people, like there were a lot of like people being mad about this on Twitter and people doing the whole like boycott Nintendo thing or whatever, like conservatives are going to conservative. This is what they do. They are like big fucking dumb babies about everything. But the fact that it is safe enough for Nintendo to include, and not even just visibly, but like visibly and confirmed and also part of the character's like actual story, like trans character in a fucking Mario game, it kind of shows that we're winning a little bit. And I think that's a good thing. And I think that it's worth celebrating those wins when we can see them, you know, reminding ourselves that even amidst all of the like bullshit that we're dealing with, there are still like positive stories out there and stories that inspire a little bit of hope. Someone called this the bare minimum, and on the one hand, I can think of Bridget from Guilty Gear beating Nintendo in that area, but on the other hand, there's something wrong with the bare minimum line. I actually like vehemently disagree with the bare minimum line. And there's a reason for that. The idea that it is the bare minimum to include representation betrays the fact that representation is something that has to be fought for to begin with. It isn't the bare minimum. This is the result of literal decades of hard work of activists. And I actually think it's kind of disrespectful to all of the people that have been fighting for like decades and decades just to get this, to then look at this and be like, ugh, that's just the bare minimum. I think it's actually really fucking disrespectful, because 30 years ago, our representation was fucking Buffalo Bill. Calm down. Like, I'm not saying that that there aren't like other positive examples of like trans characters that have been in like video games or like other media like years and years ago. And like that's cool. It was like at the time that was considered subversive. And that's what was part of the fighting for positive representation. But I think that we like us getting like positive representation in a fucking AAA game by fucking Nintendo. I know I keep saying this, but I need to stress this. The reason why I keep pointing out that this is like fucking Nintendo putting something in a Mario game, it's like seeing a fucking like poly couple in a Mickey Mouse cartoon. Like imagine if Disney released a Mickey Mouse cartoon and there was just like a poly like thruple and it was just like normal and they acknowledged it, but they didn't like draw super attention to it. It was just done in like a really like good way. Like it's cool that there's like the representation, but it's also really important that it's that IP, because Mario is like, I don't know if you know this, but Mario is like the biggest fucking video game franchise. I mean, I guess that's not technically correct. I think that's technically Pokemon or Minecraft, but like Mario is like one of the most recognizable characters ever. And as such, Nintendo is very, very protective of its IP. To the point that I'm actually like concerned that I'm going to get copyright struck just from showing that fucking photo on screen. The fact that it's safe for Nintendo to include a like visibly trans character in a Mario game, and not just like a trans character, but a trans character whose transness is important to the character's like arc and story, that's why it's so important. It's like as if they did that with Mickey Mouse. Like Mickey Mouse is a heavily protected IP, including like queer characters in that IP is a big deal because it indicates like a safety there. Yeah, so protective of their IP, they don't want people getting a hold of the games you can't buy anymore. Like, yeah. But I'm not gonna stick on this forever. Like I wanted to talk about this because I think it's a really good feel good story. I know that like the way that you could talk about it is to like dunk on conservatives that are mad about it, but honestly, like I wanted to look at this from the representation angle because it's just like I feel like this is really super important, and a lot of people miss how important representation is and how important representation is when it's something this mainstream. Like never forget that, like, and I'm going to reiterate what I said a second ago because like the bare minimum thing like really does like fuck with me. Please remember that this is the culmination of like decades and decades and decades of like fighting for queer rights. And it may seem like a small thing, and it may seem like, well, we have other queer characters, like this is just like why do we care about this? Just remember that like 30 fucking years ago, this would have been a big deal because it would have been subversive. And the fact that this is less subversive now, like, just sit with that and reflect with it, because it like I really don't like the feeling like this isn't as big of a deal because it's like not. Yeah, like the little things matter. It's extremely important because like the little things matter, but it's also like I feel like it's disrespectful to all of the people who have like been fighting for 40, 50, 60, 70 years for our rights, to look at something as obviously big of a win as this and then to just shit all over it. Like, no, sit with it, be grateful, reflect on all of the hard work that went into just something as small as this being such a huge win. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to support the channel further, you can become a channel member by clicking the join button, leave a super chat or a super thanks. You can become a patron at patreon.com/SaigeAlexis, or you could donate to my coffee. The link for that will be in the description below. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.